Hi guys, welcome back to Balls Fan TV. And today we're back with another video of doing the match preview for tomorrow's game against Shelbourne at Dalymount Park. It's the last home game of the season, and yeah, the stakes are high. The race for Europe is coming to a conclusion. Yeah, it's been very nerve wracking. But look, we're nearly there. The season's nearly over, but we'll know our fate soon. And we obviously need 3 points if we want to keep ourselves in that race. Going into the final day, which it looks like it's all going to come down to that. Really, the game in Drogheda and other games going on as well around us. So yeah, look, in order to make sure we're still in the hunt come then, we've got to win tomorrow. And look, the performance on Monday night, despite the fact that we didn't come away with the 3 points, it was encouraging. The effort was good. We got ourselves into some good positions, but we've been in the situation before many times this season where we get into good areas but just can't quite create the chances, can't quite get that goal that we need. But hopefully tomorrow it'll be different and we'll be able to make those chances count. But look, we're coming up against a good Sheld side who are on a really good run of form. They've won the last 4 league games. Obviously suffered a gutting defeat in Europe during the week away in North Macedonia, conceding very late on. But they probably were the better side for most of that game as well. And yeah, look, to be fair, since stuff has gone, they probably got better. They looked quite down and out really in the European race only maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, but they picked up form now and look kind of nailed on to finish in the top three. Maybe even they might pip Derry to second. So yeah, they'll be wanting to finish as high as possible because like we said, they still can't finish as high as second. So they'll be coming here full of confidence, and we've got to be aware of that. But we've got so much on the line. You'd expect us to turn up and put in a good performance and hopefully get the win. In terms of what the team might look like, we probably won't see wholesale changes, but one thing I think most of us would like to see is Douglas James Taylor coming in back up front. Was on the bench against Pats, probably just wasn't ready to start after a little bit of time off with an injury, but with him being in the squad there on Monday, you'd expect him to be ready. So I think I'd start him up front here. I think we just need that goal scoring presence. I think that was something that we lacked on Monday night. When we got forward, you kind of just missed that player that was kind of in and around the box. If something was to fall, in there, someone would be there to put it in the back of the net. And I think Douglas James Taylor is that player. And look, I know he has missed some big chances in games this season. I think to the Sligo game up in Sligo, he did miss a good chance in that game. A header from quite close range. But look, he's also come up with some really good goals as well. Scored 2 great goals against Galway and Cork. And you just need that player on the pitch that can produce a moment like that. So that's exactly why I think I'd have him up front. So yeah, I think that's the big change that we need to make. But other than that, I thought Lee Cavan was good on Monday. I think he might keep his place. We could even see Conor Parsons keep his place. So he put in a decent performance on Monday. So yeah, apart from Douglas James Taylor, I don't think there's too much of a call for other changes. So the game itself, really, I think the importance doesn't really need to be stated here. I think we all know what we need, and that's 3 points. To keep ourselves in that race. The results did go our way last night. Pats and Drogheda were both held to draws. So look, that was good. But look, it doesn't mean anything unless we do our bit tomorrow. We've been in these sort of situations over the last few weeks where we've gone into a big game and we've said we need to win, and just we haven't been able to do it. We Galway, a couple last week, and Derry at home. Those sort of games where it was a big chance to really put ourselves in the driving seat for Europe, and then we didn't turn up. And look, we can't have that tomorrow. If we were to lose, I think it would put us in a pretty bad position. Look, I know Pats have I think it's Shells in Tolka Park for their last game. That is a tricky game, but we have to go to Drogheda, and our record there this season has not been good. Our record against Drogheda in general has been bad. We've lost every time we played against them. So 3 points tomorrow would take a little bit of pressure off that game. Look, I still think it's going to come down to that ultimately in Drogheda, but getting 3 points tomorrow would help the confidence anyway. And look, it's not going to be easy against a good Shell side. People will say, well, they will be fatigued after playing, in Europe midweek. But look, they've got a really good squad with a lot of good players. They can change things. So look, that's not going to be a big worry to them. So look, the main thing is we can't really focus on anyone else but ourselves. We just have to turn up here and do the job. And look, I'm just hoping that it's a Dublin derby. It's the last home game of the season. You'd expect the crowd are going to be up for it. The players were up for it on Monday night, just without the killer instinct and attack that we were lacking to win the game. But I do expect a lively atmosphere, and along with that, you'd hope that the players will do their bit as well. So I'm going to go with a 1-0 win, just like I predicted in the Pats game. Like we've said, the players will have that bit between their teeth. They'll be really, really wanting to come out here and prove that we're not going to let this slip. We're going to see it out. We're going to do the job. We're going to get ourselves into the top four. And hopefully book our place for Europe next season. Obviously, if we do finish fourth in the game, we'll have to hope that Rovers win the cup. And ultimately we obviously don't want to be cheering them on in the cup final. But if it comes down to that situation, then look, so be it. It is kind of our fault that we have kind of maybe let the top three pass us by. But look, it doesn't really matter, as long as we get into Europe. That's the end goal. That's what we're all striving towards. So yeah, 1-0 win. Let's just hope that we will see a good performance. The players will rise to the occasion, and we'll put ourselves in a good position heading into the draw on the last day and see this job out. So that's where I'll end it. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment down below what you're thinking heading into the game, your score predictions, and I'll see you for the reaction the day after. Bye bye.